In this second part of our last Q&A episode, I answer remaining 5 questions, all related to buying gas stations and how to understand the numbers and if the stores are really making money or losing money. I also answer questions about how to grow your business with financing and how to take on a new partnership. I think you may find this episode helpful if you're in the market to buy a business. Here, I analyze some sales numbers and see which ones are making money and which ones are not. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the one and only Gas Station Business 101 podcast, where you can learn all the secrets about how to start and operate a gas station business successfully and make money. This podcast is brought to you by the good folks at CSB Academy Publishing Company. And now, here is your host, Shabir Hossain.
Welcome to Gas Station Business 101 podcast. I am Shabir Hossain, and this is episode number 6060. This is the show where we discuss everything under the sun about gas station and convenience store business. How to buy these businesses, how to operate them, and how to grow them into a $1 million success. Yes, really, you can grow this business to be $1 million success as long as you keep your focus and grow the proper way. Now, this is a Q&A session. So, as you recall, the last episode after the third question, I think we pretty much ran out of time. So I will continue to answer the remaining questions. Let's dive right in, and we will answer question number 4. And I will first read the question and then I will go ahead and answer. And the question reads such: Hope this email finds you and your family well. I personally want to thank you for writing a book about gas station business. You have explained a very well process of how to buy and what to keep in mind before buying a store. I'm in gas station with C-store business since the year 2005. I've been through many challenges similar to yours, which you have explained in your book. I'm currently looking for something to understand how to get finance to expand like the big national companies. Can you explore few points of financial strategies in order to expand in gas station business? A great question. And I don't think I've touched on these much in previous episodes. So let me explain the process how a person or a group of people can grow their business. Similar to any other businesses, if you start up with, let's say, one gas station or one convenience store, and you're doing okay, but you're running everything properly, and you're keeping up with your books, finances, and all the record keeping, which would reflect in your tax return as well. So imagine this scenario that before you got into this business, you were making, let's say, $30,000 or $40,000 a year. And after you got into this business, you've improved the business. So your tax return has shown that from $30,000 when you got into the business or right before you got into the business, then it gradually has increased. Your tax return shows more and more income every year. So that shows a positive trend. And your business tax returns similarly shows a higher income. Depending on how you structure your business, most of us usually have the LLC type business where all the income flows to the owner. So you don't pay separate taxes on your company, but you show that the income is going towards the owner. Anyway, yeah, that's your accountant can show you or tell you that. But the reason I mentioned tax return, because if you are applying for a loan to expand, the bank would want to see your tax return, both your personal and your business tax returns. So if your business tax returns show that year one, your business generated X amount of money and it profited X amount of dollars, then year two, it shows a bigger number than what year one showed, and so on and so forth, then the bank would look favorably to your business thinking that you know what you are doing and you're looking to grow, so they would help you to grow by giving you a loan. Now, is it as simple as just providing tax returns? No, obviously not. Couple of things to keep in mind. One is, when you're finding a second gas station, that gas station has to make sense. Their financials have to make sense, meaning whatever financial documents that the seller is providing you, you need to analyze them and make sure that they make sense, meaning that they, at the end of the year or at the end of the month, after paying all the expenses, that store or that business is generating positive cash flow. Once you have that, if the seller hasn't provided you with their full financials, you can get their permission and create some financial documents for yourself on that store so you can provide it to the bank. Remember, I have a checklist you can see on my website, and I have talked about it as far as how to get financing from a bank. I believe that was about 10 episodes ago. If you do a search, you will see there's a list of documents that I have outlined that you need to provide to a bank to get financing for your store. So in order for you to fulfill that requirement, one of the part would be to provide P&L, balance sheet and such for the store that you're looking to buy, at least for 3 years. And then you need to provide some P&Ls and balance sheet and income statements for your existing business. So the bank can see that you are making money as of right now, and the business you're looking to buy is making money. So they will not be at risk. At the same token, the bank would want to see some type of asset that you have, which is free and clear or has some equity build up on it. So the bank can take that just in case this business, the new business that you're buying, falls short and you're unable to make payments, so the bank can recoup their investments. That is a very common practice for the bank. But remember this, the second store, let's say the first store you buy, you do well. The second store is the hardest one to get financing for. But once you get the financing for the second store, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, and so on, become much easier, because by then your first store is usually paid off, or at least has very good equity build up on top of that store. So when you're looking to expand, it becomes much easier, and you already have a proven track record with the bank. So the bank says, yes, this person is doing well, the second store is doing well, so we should help them buying the third store or the fourth store, because they know if one of the stores go bad, you have other stores that can back that up. Meaning, let's say you have 3 other stores that are making money and the fourth store is not making money. You will not go under, because you will take money out of those 3 stores that are making money, and you will make this fourth store survive until it becomes profitable. So the best way to grow is slow but steady, and make sure you keep all your records, and if your business is making money, make sure that shows up on the tax return, because some people have tendency to hide money and not show enough income on the tax return to save a few bucks, but that's not a very good idea. This way, if you're being transparent with the tax people, meaning IRS or your state income tax people, you sleep better at night. Not only that, you get to grow, because if you're making money, then you should be able to invest and buy and grow your business. Hopefully, I was able to answer your question. Moving on to second question, which is question number 5. This question, again, I'm not revealing any names for any of these questions, because some of these people are trying to buy a gas station or a business, and I don't want to give out their name and their details. Instead, I've decided to share some of the numbers that they send me, so you understand and can get help from these answers. Okay, this question reads, Dear Shabir, I will be running a gas station from April 1st. Let me give you the picture. The store owner still has 3.4 million gallon volume of gas under contract. He splits the profit, expenses, credit card fees and maintenance fees with a small oil company. If I take his contract, I will have to split the fuel profit 50-50, but I get 3 cents cheaper than other gas stores. If I don't take his contract, I have to pay 3 cents more, which is higher than his contract price. Which deal would generate more profit for me? Being a first-time business runner, I would appreciate your suggestions. Okay, I wrote him back a question that I have as far as that 3 cents a gallon cheaper versus higher. When we buy fuel, and if you're in this business, then you know as well, most of us buy fuel at something called the rack price, the established rack price. Regardless what brand you are, every brand has their own rack price. It may vary by a penny or two between, let's say, Shell and Chevron, or Chevron and Exxon, and so on and so forth. But they're pretty similar. And it bases on the market price, meaning whatever the trading price for crude oil is, it varies based on that. Unless there is some other issues with refineries, usually the price goes up and down based on the crude oil prices on the market. So when he says that he would, if he doesn't take the contract, he would have to buy it at 3 cents higher, is it the rack price? If it is the rack price, then it would be harder for him to compete with other competitors when he's buying his fuel at 3 cents higher. But now, as for 50-50 split, there are many stores where oil companies, small oil companies, not big ones, they do this type of deal where they say, okay, we will inventory the fuel and we will pay for the maintenance and whatnot, and you would split the profit 50-50. Now, if this is one of those situations where I don't like this personally, but if you have to, I would say you can get into it because it's not going to make you lose money, but it will make less. And sometimes you may come out better because, let's say, it depends on a few things. For example, if your POS system, the point of sale system, the cash registers, and the dispensers, the fuel dispensers are older, let's say they're 10 years old, and they break down quite often. Usually dispensers can have a lot of problems, older dispensers. The printer can go down one day, the display can go bad another day, then the pumps would run slow, this, that. I mean, there are many issues that dispensers may have. And a lot of times, these repair bills can run into thousands. To give you an example, recently we had to change a display board on a fuel pump. You know, the display where you see the credit card information. When you enter the credit card, it says enter your PIN and do this, do that. This screen, it's a small screen. It's about a 4 square inch of screen. And that screen stopped working suddenly. So we called somebody, one of the repair companies, and they came and gave us an estimate of $1,100 because they said only people that make this display is Wayne, the manufacturer of the dispenser. And they sell this for $1,000 and there is a $100 installation fee. So it's $1,100. Just imagine that. That's a lot of money to buy a very small display. It's not even a colored display. It's just a black and white LCD display. So there are times that some of these repair costs can run into thousands of dollars when, since he didn't tell me exactly how much volume they pump every month, they told me how much volume they have left to buy from that contract, which is 3.4 million gallons of volume left under that contract. Means they have to buy that many gallons over the next however many years the contract runs for. But they did not specify how many gallons they pump each month. So let's say if they're pumping 100,000 gallons and the store is in an area where the fuel margin is decent, then yes, this is going to be where he's going to be losing money by splitting the profit. But if it's in a very tight market where there are other lower price competitors that are always driving the price down in the market, then he may come out ahead. So as I said, it's a catch-22. I mean, it can go either way, but at least if somebody is taking care of all the or at least splitting the profit and the expenses and the credit card fees, then let's say your repair bill ran into $4,000 in 1 month. Then they're paying $2,000 and you're paying $2,000. And similarly, credit card fees are high nowadays compared to 10, 12, 15 years ago. When gasoline was 99 cents a gallon, you paid, let's say, 1.75% of 99 cents. Now you're paying the same percentage, which is 1.75, but for $3 a gallon. So you're paying higher per gallon fees compared to, let's say, 10, 15 years ago. So if somebody's splitting that cost, the expense with you, then yes, let's say you made the whole money from the fuel profit, but you would have to pay the whole expense, all the credit card fees, all the repair maintenance, and all that. So in a way, it can be a washout, or you may lose a little. I shouldn't have said lose a little. I should have said you could make less money, but at least you will not lose money. So I would say, as long as it is the rack price that you were talking about, you can go ahead, go forward with it, provided that the inside volume is decent, where you will be making some money and don't have to split the inside profit margin with your oil company. Hope I was able to clear up any confusion that you have had. Moving on to question number 6. The question reads, "Hi Shabir, thank you for the great article. It helps me a lot. One question though. When a seller says his store sales are $37,000 a month, does that figure normally include lotto or scratch-off sales? I'm asking because one of the stores I looked at treated the lotto and scratch-off tickets and prepaid phone card separate. So inside sales were more than what they were saying." Okay, I think the question wasn't as clear for me to understand, because let me just explain the process. If any store that sells prepaid phone cards or lotto and scratch-offs, these are usually separated from your inside store merchandise sales. For example, your categories like beer, soda, cigarettes, and deli, grocery, and all other items. These are the items that comes under your inside merchandise sales. But as far as lotto and scratch-off, they're basically a commission-based sales. So you get a percentage, 2, 3, 4, whatever percentage you get of that sale. So it's like money orders, for example. Money orders are never included in the inside merchandise sales, because if it does, there are stores that sells $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 of the money orders a month. So that store would show a huge inside or merchandise sales if you include that. But now, a lot of stores that I've seen include phone cards under their inside merchandise sales. And that could be done and without raising any red flags, because phone cards, you get different percentage on different things. It's similar to newspaper, for example. Some stores include newspapers as part of their merchandise sales. And even though you don't make much on newspapers, but at least it is a merchandise that you're selling. Even though you make less money on it, roughly around 10% or so. Similarly, as I said, phone cards, some people include that because there are different percentages that you make on phone cards. For example, AT&T phone cards, I think you make the least amount of money, and there are other phone companies that you sell and you can make 14, 15% on some of those. When some of the best-selling ones, for example, AT&T, I think nowadays give you 6% or something similar to that. So you need to look very closely when you find a store that's giving you a report of their inside sales. You need to make sure that the scratch-off and lotto is separated, and it's not part of the inside merchandise sales, because $37,000 inside merchandise sales a month is low to begin with. So if you have part of it with lotto and scratch-off, that means their sales are not very high at all. So be very careful about that. Moving on to question number 7. I'm going to read the question first. Thank you for the great info. I had limited funds, like around $100,000, And most money-making gas stations, as I see on the websites, are very expensive. Do you think it is a good idea to go into a partnership with a stranger? I have posted on CL for partnership and got responses, but I'm curious about it. Well, to answer your question, first, there are some keywords that you put in here. For example, stranger. That doesn't sound good because that's a scary enough word, stranger. And as far as partnership goes, I believe I have answered this very question in episode number 21, where that entire episode was dedicated on the topic of how to create an effective partnership, because it is a very delicate thing to get a partner into your business, because you have to put a lot of trust into that partnership. Because remember, if you get somebody that is not on the up and up and can do something that's illegal, that can come down on your business, especially if the person is a hands-on, meaning if they're the one operating the store or taking some responsibility of that store. So you have to be very careful as to how and who you take in your business. It's kind of like taking somebody inside your home. If you don't know somebody, you can invite them and let them live in your house. Similarly, you should not bring just somebody without knowing them well into your business as a partner, unless they're investors. Well, I would refer you back to episode 21 because I've explained the process and I outlined some of the ways you can get partners into your business. So I highly recommend any of you that are interested in learning about partnership and how to create one, how to bring one, and how to make it work for everybody, where everybody is happy and everybody is benefiting from such partnership. So please go back and listen to episode 21. And if you have any questions after you listen to that episode, feel free to send me an email and I will be glad to answer that for you. Moving on to question number 8. It's a long-time listener that sent me this question, Andres. And he sent me a question. Let me read the question first. Hi, Shabir. Hope you're fine. Do you have a good template to control cigarettes in your stores? I would imagine your employees has to count the cigarette boxes when they start the shift, also at the end of the shift, to reconcile with the daily sales, right? If not, how do you do it? Well, this is a question I believe I answered before on one of the episodes where we talked about loss prevention and how to control and minimize theft. Now, this is one of the biggest part of your inventory, the most expensive, smallest, easy to carry, and one pack goes away, there goes your profit for the next 2 hours. So, as we all know, that a carton of cigarette, which is 10 packs of cigarette nowadays, cost anywhere from $50 to $80, $90 even, depending on which part of the country you live in. So one thing we have all learned, that this is the easiest thing to steal. As I said, it's not a large item. It's easy to hide and most expensive in your store. So what we do, and I know I've discussed this many times, that we have all our employees count cigarettes as soon as they arrive. And I believe I even shared a picture of a cigarette shelf where we numbered all the shelves from 1, 2, 3, 4. And every shelf, let's say each row is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth. And every row has, let's say, 10, 11, or 12 facing of cigarettes. And every row has, every slot rather, has holds, let's say, carton, even 12 pack or 15 packs in each slot. So what they essentially do is count all the cigarettes by number, and they write it down on their shift report. That row number 1 has 23 packs, row number 2 has 57 packs, and so on and so forth. And then they tally it up, and they have a beginning count. At the end of the shift, they count again, and they have an ending count. And usually the ending count would always be smaller than the beginning count because you've sold cigarettes in your shift. During that 6 hours, 7 hours, or 8 hour shift, you have sold many packs of cigarettes. So let's say you started off with 100 packs of cigarettes, and at the end of your shift, you have 60 packs of cigarettes left on the shelf. So essentially what it tells you is that the person sold 40 packs of cigarettes, right? So once they do a shift change, that shift change prints out a report that has department cells. And in that department cells, and if you recall my episode where I outlined how to read cash register report, it's about 7 episodes ago, I believe, where I outlined and I shared some screenshot of some cash register reports where I show you that there are places where in the department cells, it shows how many transactions were done under the category of cigarettes. So if that report says 40 packs were sold and your count says 40 packs were missing, that means no other funny business has taken place in your store. That means they sold 40 packs. But does that always match? Not really. There is always a pack or two difference, but most of the time it's because of a miscount. And what I tend to usually do is teach my managers and partners that what you have to do is look at the end count of person A versus beginning count of person B. So let's say one person is ending their shift. That also means another person is beginning their shift. So you need to see their count as well. And I always advise all of the cashiers to count cigarettes separately. Don't copy one from the other, because if one is making a mistake, don't make the same mistake. That way you may get charged for that missing pack of cigarettes. So do your independent count. And that way, if somebody else made a mistake, you avoided that, or vice versa for that matter. So independent count is always better. And that way you always find out if there was any problem or not. Because let's say often I notice that one person is short by a pack, but the next shift was over by a pack. That means they miscounted. So it is common. And, when you're counting 200, 300 packs of cigarette, it's easy to miss 1 or 2 packs here and there, but it should turn up very next shift. So there shouldn't be any concern as far as if you have 3 shifts in a day in your store, if it's a 24-hour store, then it should be evening out at the end of the day. And that's my main concern and priority. So as far as form goes, you can create your own based on how many cigarette racks you have, because every store is different. So according to the racks you have, just number those racks, those shelves rather, rows, and that way most likely you'll end up with 12 or 14 or 15 rows if you have a big enough store with lots of cigarettes. And that way they will just count all the rows and write a total. And usually my idea is use the bottom part of your shift report where you can put these cigarette count, in count and out count, and then the difference. And then I just simply say, did it match with the shift report total? And if it didn't, how much short you are or how much overage you have in that report compared to that report. So I can take a look at it and compare it to the next shift. That's all I want them to do. Now, a lot of people use a plain piece of paper, some cashiers, and at the end of the night, they tally it up and just transfer it onto the shift report. So it's up to them. I teach them to use a pencil, and every time they sell a pack, just put a dot on put a line, let's say like an eye looking thing, and every 5 packs sold, they just cross it out. So from a glance, from a distance, they can see how many scratch they have. If they have 1 scratch, that means 5 packs. 2 scratch means 10 pack. So, that way they, at the end of the night, they don't have to count each dot or each line separately. They can just see, okay, I've sold this many packs. And a lot of times they don't have to recount going back at the end count, because if they keep a good tally of every time they sell a pack of cigarette, then it saves them time at the end of the shift. Or some people choose to count once again just to make sure that they're not making any mistakes or they're not missing any packs that they sold and forgot to mark it on a piece of paper. So regardless how you do it, as long as something is done, then you know nobody's stealing your cigarettes. And that is number one item that people get taken as far as theft goes. So as long as you can keep a good control, tight control over your cigarettes, you're doing pretty good. Now the last question, question number 9. I'm just going to read the question first. My idea of a full-service gas station came about because my mother lives in Pennsylvania, where there may be one place left that will still pump your gas for you. And that's the only place she will go. Anyways, we don't have any full-service station here. I'm thinking the rich folks in our area might pay a pretty penny for this service. What are your thoughts? I'm looking forward to hearing your response. Well, I didn't mention where this person is from or what area they mentioned. But anyway, getting back to the point, it is a very good question. And I don't remember in which episode I did search. I couldn't find exactly where I spoke about full service gas station because I know I had a discussion about this. But this is a fantastic idea. If you have been in this country for many years, then I'm sure you have seen full service stations around town. Even in the late 80s, I have seen many, and I hardly see any right now. I think in our city, if I'm not mistaken, there is only one, and that has been there for many years, and they do a phenomenal business because they're in the area where there are a lot of aging population, the older people, rich older people live. And most of these people, older people, they grew up with full service gas stations. That is something that they're accustomed to. And now that they're getting older, it is hard for some of these people to get out in the sun or in the rain and stand there. And these dispensers nowadays have so many different options, choices, and credit card different prompts that they have to hit yes, no, and enter and all that. A lot of these people don't want to get into all that thing, and they much rather just, have somebody pump their fuel for them. And if I'm not mistaken, there are only 2 states right now in the U.S. that still has full service, and that's by law. One is New Jersey. I know that, unless they've changed their laws recently. But last time I was there, it is still full service. And the other one, I can't remember right now, but I know there is another state that has full service. So if you get used to that, it's very nice to have somebody pump your fuel for you. And most of the time, a full service gas station can charge as high as 10 cents a gallon extra because there is somebody pumping your fuel for you. So there is a cost involved in it. You're employing somebody to stand there, and they usually in full service station, they don't only fill up your tank, but they also check your fluids for your washer, window washer. And sometimes if you ask them, they will check your motor oil level. So that used to be the norm back in the old days. And I'm sounding like I'm an old man, but I'm not. I've seen it on TV. And when, back in late 80s, I've seen it in the full service station that a lot of the older people would go in and say, check my oil. The main reason is the older cars, the 60s cars, 70s cars, they all used to burn a little bit of motor oil. So it was a normal thing to check your oil every so often. So you're not running low. And if you are, they would put a quart in and oil in, and you will pay for it separately, of course. So that was the norm. And there are people still out there that will ask you to check the window washer fluid level and maybe the motor oil. So as long as you can employ somebody to do that, you can charge 7, 8, 9, 10 cents extra for that. So there are 2 ways to do it. One is you can have half of your gas station and half of your pumps prepay and half of your pumps full service. The only problem would be that these pumps, if you do not set it up as a full service versus self-service, your register will automatically set just one price. So there are some programming requirements for this. And also you may have to get 1 or 2 dispensers that are equipped with 2 different pricing, meaning If they hit full service, the price will change. And if they hit self-service, the price will be different. Similar to nowadays, in some states, you will see cash price versus credit price. So there is a button that changes the price. And the reason I said you can do two ways. One is half and half. This way, the self-service people will come and pump their own gas, and they don't want to pay you extra money. So let them do that. And as long as you can set it up where the full service pumps will be charging higher price, and you'll be posting higher price for full service. So you can post two different pricing. One is self, one is full service. Similar to some of the stations that you see post two different prices for cash and credit. So as long as you talk to one of the people that installs the pumps and the registers, they should be able to guide you through how to program and how to get this option installed where you can do so legally without any hiccups. Because if your pump says you're charging $2.09 and then you start adding 10 cents to the gallon for full service, anybody would question you. Say, I see the pump says I owe you $20 and you're asking me for $22 or $21. And you can say, I'm charging you 10 cents extra. That's not polite. That's not professional. So you need to make sure that the pump, the dispenser's digits reflect what you're charging the people. And also, another thing is when you employ these people, make sure they know how to open the hood, how to check the oil, because nowadays the cars are very tricky. So the oil dipstick is not pretty much the same place that it used to be many years ago, where as soon as you open the hood, you see the dipstick. Nowadays, they can be concealed in some ways that it takes time to pretty much, find that dipstick. And a lot of times I've seen some people take out a transmission fluid dipstick thinking this is the motor oil dipstick. So there are some degree of training that needs to be done for these people that you employ to do this work for you, even though it sounds simple. And also, some people may ask, hey, check my tire pressure. So those are the things that you need to teach people how to do. And you need to figure out a way to charge these people. If they're checking motor oil or if they're putting air, maybe you want to add $1 extra for that or something. Or if they're cleaning the windows for that matter, it's not part of pumping fuel. So you may need to figure out a way to charge extra for those. And a lot of these people that would be doing this work for you, they also get tips. Some people do tip $1 or $2, depending on, who they are and if they have some extra cash. So these people also rely on these tips on this type of jobs. So it's easier to find people to do this job because, as I said, they get a wage from you and they also make a little bit of tips on the side. And it is, in my opinion, it's one of the greatest marketing tactics that you can use to make your station stand out between all of the competitors that you have. Because as the email says, that there is no full service station anywhere anymore, other than maybe every 100 miles there is one that you can hardly find, and with a service bay, and it's not a clean looking facility a lot of the times. So if you can have a clean facility, well lit, and have somebody with an uniform that's filling up people's tank, you may hit the jackpot, and you may see that you're doing a lot more business than you originally anticipated. So good luck with that, and I think it's a marvelous idea, and you should go and try it and let me know how this works out. And if any of you get motivated to try this, I would love to know how that is working out. Send me an email. I believe I answered all of the emails for today. Even though I have a few more in my inbox, I didn't want to bring those in because then again, I would go over the hour mark and all that. So let's keep it at this, and I will gather up the emails that I think I should share. And again, in next few episodes later, I will do another Q&A and answer some more questions. And in the meantime, if you think you want to know some things that you haven't found the answer for, or you think I will be able to answer, feel free to send me an email, and I'll try my best either to answer you via email or put your question in a Q&A podcast episode and answer it this way. Thank you once again for listening and staying with me. Don't forget to sign up for my very important newsletter. And I always say very important because it is important. The items that I share, they are lots of valuable information, and it's all free. I don't charge you anything for it. And I always encourage you to save the first 7 emails that you get from me every 2 weeks. Save those, because anytime you're looking to buy a business or anytime you're running into a problem or due diligence or anything, this 7 emails holds all the answers to all of these questions. So a lot of times you can just flip those pages and see the answer to some of these questions you may have when you're looking to buy a business. So do sign up. Don't forget to sign up. It's very simple. Just go to my website, gasstationbusiness101.com, and at the bottom of any page, you will see that says subscribe to the newsletter. Or you can simply type gasstationbusiness101.com/subscribe. And if you haven't also subscribed to the podcast, this podcast that you're listening to, by all means do so. This way, anytime I put a new episode up, you will be notified right away. So you don't have to go in and check manually to see if I had a chance to put an episode up. This way, you'll always be informed. And it doesn't cost anything. So if you're an iTunes member or Android, simply wherever you're getting this podcast from, just simply hit subscribe and it will be delivered to your inbox. And once again, I will be bringing you, the next episode will be the store that I helped some investors buy. And I have been talking about how I would be sharing the newest P&L and the status of that store and how that store is doing. I finally did get some of the numbers that I was waiting for. And hopefully, as I said, I recorded half of the show already. So I'll be finishing that up and bringing it to you shortly. Thank you and have a great day.
This has been the one and only Gas Station Business 101 podcast with your host, Shabir Hossein. This podcast was brought to you by CSB Academy Publishing Company. Be sure to join us next time as we share with you the secrets about how to start and operate a gas station business successfully and make money.